This is a study of 2 Samuel, chapters 18 and 19. At the beginning of the chapter, we have learned that David and his army has vacated and that Absalom has taken up residence in Jerusalem, usurping the throne from his father and behaving as a type for the Antichrist. Chapter 18, verse 1, and we are in a civil war rather than brother against brother. It's father against son. And David numbered the people that were with him and set captains of thousands and captains of hundreds over them. He is mustering. 2. And David sent forth a third part of the people under the hand of Joab, and a third part under the hand of Abishai, the son of Zeruiah. Joab and Abishai are brothers, and their mother is David's sister. And a third part under the hand of Ittai the Gittite. And the king said unto the people, I will surely go forth with you myself also. Now, Ittai is a Hittite. He's from Gath. He's a Philistine. And he and his family had followed David. And David asked them to turn back. And he said that he would die with David if that is what it took. Verse 3, but the people answered, Thou shalt not go forth, for if we flee away, they will not care for us, neither if half of us die will they care for us. But now thou art worth 10,000 of us. Therefore now it is better that thou succor us out of the city. Or succor, that word means to help. And of course, they will need help. And some scholars say that some are going to be left in the city. 4. And the king said unto them, What seemeth you best I will do? And the king stood by the gate side, and all the people came out by hundreds and by thousands. They wished to leave, and he, of course, said he would do what is best. 5. And this next verse he issues a warning that could spell trouble. And the king commanded Joab and Abishai and Ittai, saying, Deal gently for my sake with the young man, that's Jonathan, even with Absalom. All the people heard when the king gave all the captains charge concerning Absalom. So all heard this warning, deal gently with Absalom. 6. So the people went out into the field against Israel, and the battle was in the wood of Ephraim. That wood of Ephraim that is explained in Psalm 55, and it is doves in the distant woods, and God had said to David, wait for the sound of the doves in the mulberry tree. This is important. 7. Where the people of Israel were slain before the servants of David, and there was a great slaughter that day of 20,000. The people of Israel would have been those who were following Absalom, and 20,000 of them are killed. 8. For the battle was there scattered over the face of the country, and the woods devoured more people that day than the sword devoured. That needs some explanation. It's assumed that it's quicksand and marshy ground, and we have to refer to Psalm 55. The wood, they're in the wood, and the dove call is the voice of God, and it was God's army in that woods, not quicksand. 9. And Absalom met the servants of David, and Absalom rode under a thick boughs of a great oak, and his head caught hold of the oak, and his head caught, and he was taken up between the heaven and the earth, and the mule that was under him went away. Remember in earlier chapters that he had cut his hair, and he had 4 pounds of hair when he had it cut, and he has a full head of hair, and it's this hair that has gotten caught up. 10. And a certain man saw it and told Joab and said, Behold, I saw Absalom hanged in an oak. Joab said unto the man that told him, And behold, thou sawest him, and why didst thou not smite him there to the ground? And I would have given thee 10 shekels of silver and a girdle. Very common for a military commander to offer money, silver, to one who had been extraordinarily good and accomplished well. The man is going to give his reason for not smiting Jonathan. And the man, 12, said unto Joab, Though I should receive 1,000 shekels of silver in mine hand, yet would I not put forth mine hand against the king's son. For in our hearing the king charged thee and Abishai and Ittai, saying, Beware that none touch the young Absalom. So he did not smite because he knows full well that he would be in good trouble if he did kill this Absalom. And the next verse, 13, Otherwise I would have wrought falsehood against mine own life, for there is no matter hid from the king. And then thyself wouldst have set thyself against me. He said, If I had done it, Joab, you would have turned on me. 14. Then said Joab, I may not tarry thus with thee. And he took 3 darts in his hand, and thrust them through the heart of Absalom while he was yet alive in the midst of the oak. Now, this would not have been a dart as we know a dart, because they didn't have darts until after the Babylon captivity. Joab would have used his rod 3 times. And note that he did not really kill Absalom. 15. And 10 young men that bare Joab's armor compassed about and smote Absalom and slew him. So that was Joab's men who killed Absalom and not Joab. 16. And Joab blew the trumpet, and the people returned from pursuing after Israel for Joab, and held back the people. Now the trumpet sound would have signaled cease fighting. 17. And they took Absalom and cast him into a great pit in the wood, and laid a very great heap of stones upon him, and all Israel fled one to his tent. Absalom's followers took off and went to their tents. Notice he was cast in a pit. I said he was a type for Antichrist. What happens at the end for Satan? He is cast in a pit. 18. Now Absalom in his lifetime had taken and reared up for himself a pillar, which is in the king's dale, for he said, I have no son to keep my name in remembrance, and he called the pillar after his own name, and it is called unto this day Absalom's place, and to this day would be at the time of this writing. Now that dale there would be valley on the east side, the Kidron Valley. And back in chapter 14, we did learn that Absalom had a daughter and 2 sons. Here he says he has no sons, which tells us that those sons died early, leaving no issue, and therefore are not included in genealogy. 19. Then said Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, let me now run and bear the king tidings that the Lord hath avenged him of his enemies. Zadok, of course, was one of the high priests. He was the one at the temple. And remember that David set up a communication line. The priests were to remain and to hear, and each one had a son, and they were to run messages. That was David's communication network. Now, tidings implies good news. I'm going to go tell the king his enemy is gone. And how does Joab reply? 20. And Joab said unto him, Thou shalt not bear tidings this day, but thou shalt bear tidings another day. But this day thou shalt bear no tidings, because the king's son is dead. That would not be good news. 21. Then said Joab to Cushi, that's his servant, Go tell the king what thou hast seen. And Cushi bowed himself unto Joab and ran. 22. Then said Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, yet again to Joab, But howsoever let me, I pray thee, also run after Cushi. And Joab said, Wherefore wilt thou run, my son, seeing that thou hast no tidings ready? Why do you want to go? You do not have any good news. 23. But howsoever, said he, let me run. And he said unto him, Run. Then Ahimaaz ran by the way of the plain and overran Cushi. He was a fast runner, and he very easily got out ahead of Cushi, David's servant. And the watchman cried and told the king, this is the king in his place in Mahanaim. And the king said, If he be alone, there is tidings in his mouth. But he came apace and drew near. 26. And the watchman saw another man running, that would have been Cushi. And the watchman called unto the porter and said, Behold, another man running alone. But the king said, He also bringeth tidings. No, they are not bringing tidings, no good news for David. 27, and the watchman said, Methinketh the running of the foremost is like the running of Ahimaaz the son of Zadok. And the king said, He is a good man, and he cometh with good tidings. 28, and Ahimaaz called and said unto the king, All is well. And he fell down to the earth upon his face before the king, and said, Blessed be the Lord thy God, which hath delivered up the men that lifted up their hand against my lord the king. He is trying to break this in a easy manner. 29, and the king said, Is the young man Absalom safe? And Ahimaaz answered, When Joab sent the king's servant and me to the servant, I saw a great tumult, but I knew not what it was. 30. And the king said unto him, Turn aside and stand there. And he turned aside and stood still. And behold, Cushi came. And Cushi said, Tidings, my lord the king, for the Lord hath avenged thee against this day of all them that rose up against thee. He's once again telling David that Jonathan is gone, Absalom. And the king said unto him, Cushi, is the young man Absalom safe? And Cushi answered, and he gave that answer, All are gone. And then one more verse to finish this chapter, 33. And the king was much moved, and went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. And as he went, he said, O my son Absalom, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, I would God had died for thee. I had died for thee, O Absalom, my son, my son. That word moved, he was moved, he was angry. And this is David mourning the death of his son Absalom. Chapter 19. And it was told Joab, Behold, the king weepeth and mourneth for Absalom. 2. And the victory that day was turned into mourning unto all the people, for the people heard say that day how the king was grieved for his son. 3. And the people gat them by stealth that day into the city, as people being ashamed steal away when they flee in battle. So they are displaying shame and not pride in the victorious defeat of Absalom and his army. 4. But the king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, O my son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son. 5. And Joab came into the house to the king, and said, Thou hast shamed this day the faces of all thy servants, which this day have saved thy life, and the lives of thy sons and thy daughters, and the lives of thy wives, and the lives of thy concubine. Joab is speaking rather harshly here to the king, and he's just saying, all the rest of us saved your life, and the life of your other family members were saved this day through this defeat. 6. in that thou lovest thine enemies and hatest thy friends, for thou hast declared this day that thou regardest neither princes nor servants. For this day I perceive that if Absalom had lived, and we all had died, then it had pleased thee well. Once again, speaking rather sharply to the king. 7. Now therefore arise and go forth, and speak comfortably unto thy servants. For I swear by the Lord, if thou go not forth, there will not tarry one with thee this night that will be worse unto thee than all the evil that befell thee from thy youth until now. He said, if you don't go and speak to these persons who risk their lives, then you won't have any followers at all. 8. Then the king arose and sat in the gate. That gate, of course, the place of judgment. And they told unto all the people, saying, Behold, the king doth sit in the gate. And all the people came before the king, for Israel had fled every man to his tent. Those were Absalom's followers. 10. And Absalom, whom we anointed over us, is dead in battle. Now therefore, why speak ye not a word of bringing the king back? 11. And King David sent to Zadok and to Abiathar, that's the other high priest, the priest, saying, Speak unto the elders of Judah, saying, Why are ye the last to bring the king back to his house, seeing the speech of all Israel is come to the king, even to his house? There he is wondering, where is the house of Judah? And why is my own tribe the last to come in? 13. And you say to Amasa, Art thou not of my bone and of my flesh? God do so to me, and more also, if thou be not captain of the host before me continually in the room of Joab. 13 there. Son of Amasa is the son of Abigail, who is a half-sister. We're going to see David's judgment clouded. He's going to name Amasa as a captain over Joab. Mistake. And we are going to see David continue to make errors in judgment. 14. And he bowed the heart of all the men of Judah, even as the heart of one man, so that they sent his sword unto the king. Return thou and all thy servants. David is returning as the king. 15. So the king returned and came to Jordan, and Judah came to Gilgal to go and meet the king and to conduct the king over Jordan. So he's going over to the west side. 16. And Shimei, the son of Gebrah, a Benjamite, which was of Bahurim, halted and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. This a Benjamite, he would have been from the same family as Saul, of Saul's house. 17. And there were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him, and Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons, and 20 servants with him, and they went over Jordan before the king. They went out as escorts, these Benjamites. And Ziba, of course, is one who tried to get Saul's property when David was giving it, of course, to Saul's crippled son. 18, and there went a ferry boat to carry over the king's household and to do what he thought good. And Shimei, the son of Gera, fell down before the king as he was come over Jordan, fell down to worship and honor him. 19, and said to the king, let not my lord impute iniquity unto me, neither do that thou remember that which thy servant did perversely the day that my lord the king went out of Jerusalem, that the king should take it to his heart. He's asking forgiveness, and touching an anointed would have been a death penalty. But for the servant did know that I have sinned, and therefore, behold, I am come this first day of all the house of Joseph to go down to meet my lord the king. And it's not a real repentance here. He's going to find out that David will not forget, and we will learn that in the book of Kings. 21, but Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, answered and said, shall not Shimei be put to death, because he cursed the Lord's anointed? 22, and David said, what have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah, that you should this day be adversaries unto me, and there any man be put to death this day in Israel? For do not I know that I am this day king over Israel? And this is not to last very long, because the nation is going to be split north and south. 23, therefore the king said unto Shimei, thou shalt not die. And the king sware unto him. 24, and Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king, and had neither dressed his feet, nor trimmed his beard, nor washed his clothes from the day the king departed until he came in grace. Now, this person is the grandson of Saul, the actual son of Jonathan, and he, of course, was the crippled person whom David took in and put in the palace to live. And all of that of not washing and trimming his beard are, of course, signs of mourning. 25, and it came to pass when he was come to Jerusalem to meet the king, that the king said unto him, wherefore wentest not thou with me, Mephibosheth? 26, and he answered, my lord, O king, my servant deceived me, for thy servant said, I will saddle me an ass, that I may ride thereon and go to the king, because thy servant is lame. His own servant, of course, Ziba, had fooled him, because he's going to try to get the property that had belonged to Saul. 27, and he hath slandered thy servant unto my lord the king, but my lord the king is an angel of God. Do therefore what is good in thine eyes. 29. 28. For all my father's house were but dead men before my lord the king was, yet that didst thou set thy servant among them that did eat at thine own table. What right therefore have I set yet to cry any more unto the king? And he did. He took this crippled person and he ate at the table with David. And the king said unto him, Speakest thou any more of thy matters? I have said, Thou and Ziba divide the land. So it's going to go half, this, you and Ziba, half of it. But back in chapter 9, we were told that all of it went to Mephibosheth. And there 30, and Mephibosheth said unto the king, Yea, let him take all, for as much as my lord the king is come again, peace unto his own house. So he's saying, I don't care about the property. 31, and Barzillai the Gileadite came down from Rogelim and went over Jordan with the king to conduct him over the Jordan. And this, of course, is a person who had helped David earlier. He had seen that he had food over when he was on the east side fleeing from Absalom. 32. Now Barzillai was a very aged man, even 80 years old, and he had provided the king of sustenance when he lay at Mahanaim, for he was a very great man. He fed David. 33. And the king said unto Barzillai, Come thou over with me, and I will feed thee with me in Jerusalem. 35. I am this day 80 years old, and can discern between good and evil. Can thy servant taste what I eat, or what I drink? Can I hear any more the voice of singing men and singing women? Wherefore then should thy servant be yet a burden unto my lord the king? He said, I'm just too old, I can't hear, I can't see, so I would be a burden. 36. Thy servant will go a little way over Jordan with the king, and why should the king recompense it me such a reward? He said, I don't need a reward. 37. Let thy servant, I pray thee, turn back again, that I may die in mine own city, and be buried by the grave of my father and of my mother. But behold, thy servant Shimham, let him go over with my lord the king, and do to him what seem good unto thee. Take my servant instead. 39. And all the people went over Jordan, and when the king was come over, the king kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned to his own place. 40. Then the king went on to Gilgal, and Shimham went on with him, and all the people of Judah conducted the king, and also half of the people of Israel. Now, what about that other half? If we just had half of them, where were the others? Well, we're beginning to see problems. 41. And behold, all the men of Israel came to the king and said unto the king, Why have our brethren, the men of Judah, stolen thee away, and have brought the king and his household, and all David's men with him over Jordan? 42. And all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, because the king is near of kin to us, wherefore then he be angry at this matter. Have we eaten at all of the king's cost, or hath he given us any gift? The house of Judah saying, he's our kinsman. 43, to complete the chapter. And the men of Israel answered the men of Judah and said, we have 10 parts in the king, 10 tribes, and we have also more right in David than ye. Why then did ye despise us, that our advice should not be first had in bringing back our king? And the words of the men of Judah were fiercer than the words of the men of Israel. So you're seeing the 10 parts of those 10 tribes, and we are just 50 years at this point from the split. And you would have the 10 tribes to the north, and the tribe of Judah, and some Levites and Benjamites to the south. The tribes to the north decided that they could just worship a calf and not bother to go to Jerusalem to participate in any worship days. Of course, these 10 tribes were carried away by the Assyrians 200 years before the Babylonian captivity, and they went over the Caucasus Mountains. They were called Caucasians. And Ezekiel 37 tells us that a time will come when the 2 sticks, or those 2 separate parts of Israel, will be rejoined. That, of course, has not happened and is predicted to happen in the millennium. The next lesson will complete this book of Samuel, second book of Samuel, which is a great part of the story of King David.